It's completely madness. And now this was the 12th of April, so this was the day before yesterday. And it says that this is after all that money's been stolen. 2 days ago, Cyprus to appeal to EU for extra bailout assistance. Well, it's all down to Bev's marbles, isn't it? That's the problem. We can't, the 11th marble doesn't exist. It never will exist. It never can exist. And this is why the amount of debt outstrips the money supply. If everyone paid off all their debts, countries, individuals and companies, there would still be debt, but we'd run out of money completely. Or digital currency, if you like. This is the truth of the matter. Now, every single politician that says we need to have austerity measures, we've got to balance the books. Yeah, that's what Maggie Thatcher used to say, wasn't it? We've got to balance the books. Well, the first thing to do is get rid of fiat currency and fractional reserve banking, because otherwise you can never balance the books. And of course, Iceland was one of the few economies that grew by over 2% last year. However, didn't see it on Newsnight, did you? Didn't see it on the BBC or ITV. And when I tell people that the media is controlled, they go, "Oh, you're a conspiracy theorist, aren't you?" Ooh, ooh. And I go, "Oh, no, I don't anymore." I just like smile at them. Yeah, I am a conspiracy theorist, yeah. And Bank of England pressed to increase quantitative easing as confidence sags. Well, the reason quantitative easing is basically just producing more marbles and flooding them in, but they can't produce them fast enough. And it was just so funny today driving past there. And so this is one of these illustrations, wonderful, got a building, Bank of America on fire in this case, and just firing bloody notes at it, And when you actually, this is the Bank of England balance sheet since 1830. All I need to tell you is that on the left was 1830. Don't worry about what the figures are, it doesn't matter. That little kink was 1996. Where it starts going vertical was 2006. No, sorry, 2008. When that's how, the amount of money we supposedly borrowed for the Second World War doesn't even make a blip. 1956 with the Suez Crisis, there was a bit of a blip there. I don't think people are aware of how much the debt is in this country. Does anyone know what the figure is? Apparently it's 4.8 is the amount without pensions and everything. With pensions and everything else, it's just silly. It's trillions and trillions. I mean, if you stacked him up in notes, basically you'd get a skyscraper sort of size of banknotes palleted up. It's bizarre. It can never ever even begin to be paid off, and this is why the system mathematically has to collapse. Yes, sir. You.
I was listening to PM last night, and it's 11.5 trillion.
11.5 trillion. So that's twice what I was quoting. Yeah, more than twice what I was quoting. And my figures are obviously a little bit out of date, aren't they? It is crazy. And there we go. I love that. We have a problem with the debt ceiling. It's the ceiling. And as economist Kenneth Boulding said, anyone who believes exponential growth can go on forever in a finite world is either a madman or an economist. Thomas Jefferson realised what the problem was when he said, if the American people, and this goes for the British people as well, if the American people ever allow private banks to control the issue of money, first by inflation and then by deflation, the banks and the corporations that grow up around them will deprive the people of all their property until children will wake up homeless on the continent their fathers conquered. My goodness me, what foresight that guy had. Because this is happening now. The number of people I know who miss 1, 2 mortgage repayments, bang, they're straight through the courts, take the property off you. And they're doing it with the police, who are working with the courts. We know that police are working with bailiffs. A chap that I've been working with did a freedom of information request to the local council, and we know that the council, the police and the bailiffs were colluding beforehand so that they could go in and take equipment. So that, and we're saying to the, we turn around and say to the police, well, look, they have no right to take this. The bailiffs were going way beyond the powers, and the police were actually supporting them. However, there are, as well as there being an awful lot of police officers who are not upholding their oaths, there are growing numbers who realise what the problems are and are, well, without saying too much, we've got people on get out of debt free. We've got a naval intelligence officer who is on side. We've got a high-ranking police officer. We have property developers. We've got, everyone thinks that everyone will get out of debt free, just like a bunch of hippies that smoke weed all day. It's a very wide cross-section of people who are waking up. Mind you, there are a lot of people that smoke weed all day, but they're the ones that seem to do an awful lot of research with an awful lot of big dictionaries. No names mentioned. But it is a mathematical certainty that the economy will collapse. That goes without saying. You can't have exponential growth and compound interest. Something has got to collapse. And I personally feel that physically the monetary system is about to collapse, but I also feel that, and this is where it gets a little bit metaphysical, so I apologise if you don't sort of, but I'm sure everyone, isn't it interesting that people wake up to different sort of way of approaching this reality, tend to immediately see the fraud? Is that coincidence? I don't think it is. I think the two things tend to go together. That when you wake up and you realise, my goodness me, when you start sort of thinking, I don't know, start questioning everything, questioning your own relationship with the universe and realising you're actually part of it and you're part of the planet. We're not just a biological accident, in my opinion. But isn't it interesting how more and more people are waking up to this fact? And I think the two things go together, I really do. Back to the money. I don't think money was ever, it was never intended to be a commodity. It was a means of accounting between ourselves. But they've taken that away from us and said, right, you've got to use ours now, and we want paying loads of money for it. And this is how it's created world slavery. It's created world wars. It's responsible for the pollution and basically everything that is wrong on the planet at the moment. Now, I have no problem with money per se. In fact, if we had a stable economic system based on something of value or something that was stable where we could, we could be so very prosperous. If we can get rid of the banks and these corporations, we wouldn't have to work 5 days a week. We could get away with working 1 or 2 days a week. And the rest of our time, we could spend just doing whatever we really, truly wanted. But of course, we would spend so much time being really, really creative that people would say, oh, if you had spent all your time painting, people say, your paintings are wonderful, I'd like to buy them. And you would end up being a painter, yes.
What's your view on the Bradbury pound?
I don't really know, because to be honest, I don't do an awful lot of research. There's lots of different things. I'm going to have a look at, if I've got time, I might have a look at a couple of the things. I'm going to mention the Bitcoin. There are various different things, but they're linked to our pound, aren't they? So if you've got anything that's linked to our pound, it's still really just calling our pound by another name, isn't it? So that's I feel, is the inherent weakness with that. So, I don't believe that we have a financial crisis. I believe that this is a scam. In fact, I'd say it actually goes a little bit further than that, but I won't say it. I think fractional reserve banking has simply failed us, but not the bankers. And we produce more than enough food to eradicate world hunger. It's too bad there's not enough money to pay for it. So, okay, let's just have a look at a couple of alternatives. Now, Bitcoin, digital currency. Has anyone heard about Bitcoin?
Yeah.
Yes, yes. I was doing some. I was sort of writing this talk about. I think about 3 days ago, and suddenly I get an email from a mate of mine, and I'm thinking, well, Bitcoin. I knew after the Cyprus thing, it was actually going through the roof, and it's basically an electronic fund, and it's been up until fairly recently, it's been very, very successful in as far as people were putting their money, especially Cypriots, because they didn't want to put their money into the banks where it could be stolen, so they're putting it into Bitcoin. And Bitcoin actually went into what's called hyper-deflation, because so many people were putting their money into it, that the more people put their money into it, the more it goes up in value, and people were holding on to it. So they were using it and speculating on it. So it wasn't actually working like a currency, because currency really should be moving and flowing between people. It shouldn't be sort of locked up. But people were speculating on it. And then I think it was 4 days ago, a guy on Natural News website, and I read about it, and he predicted the collapse of the Bitcoin. And the following day, it more than halved in value. And so I was thinking, well, this is great. And this is literally, we're talking in the past week. So this is how volatile the whole, even alternatives, you know, it's fascinating. And not only that, but cyber criminals or thieves or whatever have been attacking it as well. So, right, I'm going to jump over a few ones. Positive money. Well, I'll just mention positive money. Has anyone come across positive money? Yes, yes. What it is, they are an organisation. They're based. I think they've got charitable status. They're based in London. They've got some really good videos. They've got a bit of money. They make some great money, and they're really good at showing us what the problem is, creating money out of nothing. However, you see the second line. They're talking about taking away the money, you know, the money creation from the banks, and giving it to the Bank of England. Well, that's like giving the biggest fox the keys to the hen house. The Bank of England is not even the Bank of England. It is the Bank of the City of London. It controls a company called the Bank. I believe it's the Bank of England Nominees, which is a secret bank which the Queen and a lot of other heads of state and royalty.
And they started this whole thing in 1694, the Bank of England.
Yes, yes.
Creating money, multiplying money, and creating interest. They had
Totally.
a certain amount of gold, and they multiplied up.
That's right. Yes,
And that's
yes.
why the City of London is a separate country.
It is. That's right. That's right. And I feel you look at these independent city-states, and you've got the Vatican, which is controlling the religion and the brainwashing. You've got Washington, D.C., the military-industrial side, and then you've got the Bank of England. And I used to think the Bank of England was the top of the triangle, but I actually think it even might actually be the Vatican, but there's levels above that. But it's going to be, I'll tell you what, it's going to be bloody good when all this comes out, and all the truth comes out. And it's not going to be long now. Yeah, I think we're very close. And then you've got Roger Hayes, Lawful Bank as well. I think, I don't know, I've not looked into it in any great detail. I feel that if it was a viable alternative, it would have been off the ground and up and running pretty well straight away like Bitcoin was. But, sorry, yeah, go on.
They stuck Roger Hayes in prison without a court trial.
That's correct, yes, yes. Yeah, yeah, that was a little while ago, wasn't it? Yeah. Yeah, I don't think...
No, he had a court trial, but later on they arrested him and stuck him in jail without a court trial.
Oh, that's right, yes, yes.
He found out that some of your council tax was going to the European Union to fund the wars.
Yes, yes, that's right. Yeah, yeah. I know Roger. He does work tirelessly. Now, this was interesting. This is interesting. This came up, and it wasn't actually. It says IMF's epic plan to conjure away debt, but it wasn't actually. It was somebody wrote a paper on behalf of the IMF, and the IMF aren't connected to it. But so it's not quite true what the Telegraph was saying, because I've actually looked up the document. However, it said the IMF suddenly realised that they could just get rid of all world debt. Well, I wouldn't mind. I've actually got to make a video. I'm going to have to phone up the IMF and offer to pay off the world debt. Because I'm like that. I'm all heart. How many trillion would you like? Do you mind if I don't do all the noughts? Because it's going to take ages. So I'll just put on, it would still take ages to write it out with the amount of trillions. But I'm quite happy to pay off with a wet signature, and I'll even do it on hemp paper, like the original promissory notes were. And this is basically what it's saying, is that it's all an illusion, and we can get rid of it like that. And we're going to get rid of it like that. It's just been a wonderful way of controlling us and keeping us in fear. Because, and you think that, you know, people without much money are the ones that are sort of most fearful, but it isn't. Because when I sort of do talks, sometimes you get people coming up at the end and said, you know what you said about this mathematical certainty? Well, I said, yeah, well, I've got rather a lot of money in the bank and I'm not really sure what to do with it. I said, well, buy lentils. Yes, something useful. Or tobacco, alcohol, stuff you can trade. No, but I don't even see a collapse. I honestly think that when they realise that it's going to, if I don't say, although people are saying yes, get guns, get ammunition, you know, I feel we are going to have not necessarily a smooth transition, but a relatively smooth transition. Because I feel that once people wake up, you don't know, the next person you speak to might be that 100th monkey, which wakes everyone up. And everyone goes, oh my God, it was all illusion, all the way along. That whole debt thing, it wasn't real at all, was it? I don't know. We were telling you, but you wouldn't turn up to all these meetings. So, and, I'm going to just shoot on a few slides, because we don't need... And I'm just going to mention, I was very fortunate to be invited to a meeting the other day by a wonderful friend here, Ray. We had Michael Tellinger come over from South Africa. Has anyone come across his work? Yeah. Yes, yeah, there's a few of you. He is a very talented young man. He has done some amazing work researching his work. Go to michaeltellinger.com and have a look at it, because I can't even begin explaining it. But what I'm just going to touch on is that there are a few people on this planet who are visionaries, and they're actually seeing a world where we can actually let go of this currency thing and money thing, and actually putting together workable solutions based on what has been referred to as gifting economies. Because everything that's truly wonderful and beautiful you can get for free. Like the sunshine, what's left of it, and you know, and fresh air and love and beauty. Most of these things are free for the time being. Apparently there's one state which is beginning in America where they're starting to charge people for rainwater that lands on their land, and that is true. So, I mean, how much do you want to take? You know, because basically, until we are living, I don't know, in concentration camps, you know, when are we going to say no? And I think we are waking up. There is no question about the outcome. We win. The light overcomes the dark. Most definitely. And I'm absolutely sure of that. And Michael Tellinger has been coming up with this wonderful idea. And it's not his idea. This is a very, very ancient way of living in community. And it basically works on the premise that the country belongs to its people. The land belongs to its people. The water, the airwaves, all resources belong to the people. Everything that grows on the land belongs to the people. The wild animals do not belong to us. We are their custodians and protectors. And he goes on to say, money is the obstacle to all progress and the cause of all misery on earth. Money is the major contributing factor to the gross separation and segregation in society. Money is the cause of 99% of crime, causes families to fall apart, is the driving force behind ego, gluttony, jealousy, greed and envy, and all the ugliest aspects of humanity. And he's actually looking at communities where it's based on everyone coming together and gifting each other. And when we realise that basically we are all one consciousness, along with the planet and the animals and the trees and the stars, and when we start behaving like that, like our bodies, when our bodies are fit and healthy, every cell in your body, which is an individual entity being itself, works very well together. When we get out of balance, it actually starts being quite destructive, and we get disease, and it starts attacking, our own body starts attacking itself. And then another wonderful gentleman is Charles Eisenstein, and he's written a book on sacred economics. And he's got a lovely video. When you get home, go onto YouTube, and he does a wonderful introduction to sacred economics. And you can just look in his eyes, and there's pure love. And he's just a very true visionary. And he sees a future where we're all working together. And if we all hold on to that vision and make it real, I believe we've got one or two little obstacles, but we're going to get over them, I promise you. Because at the end of the day, when you're playing Monopoly, it all has to go back in the box, doesn't it? Can't go on forever. And so, yeah, and occasionally you either finish a game or sometimes agree, I don't want to play anymore, you know. But this is something that One People's Public Trust said. And I believe this to be true. But I'm not going to go into One People's Public Trust, but it's something else on your, if you're not aware of it, put it on your Google list. In the months to come, our world is going to change beyond recognition. Our true history will be revealed, along with the truth of the system, how we've been living, the system we've been living under. Much technology that has been withheld from us will be released, including power production, health and transport. War, disease and pollution will be a thing of the past. And we're going to get there. Yeah. And where are we? You know, yes, we are. We're going to do it. We're going to do it. Where are you? You know, it's very difficult to stay, but this is another beautiful. Whatever frequency you give out, you are transmitting to the universe. And you can be down in fear, grief, depression. And we all have days when we feel powerless and we don't want to get up in the morning. But what I suggest, get onto YouTube, watch some, you know, listen to wonderful music, phone up a friend that inspires you, and get yourself to the, you know, up to trust, optimism. And when you can get to the top, when you get into your joy, passion, empowerment and freedom, that sends out such an energy which is so powerful that it's, I always read the story. I quite love the Tao Te Ching and the stories of the Taoist monk. And the Taoist monk would wear sackcloth. And most people would think that Taoist monks were beggars. But they were very, very advanced souls and had done an awful lot of work on themselves. And they would walk through a small town or a large town or a city, and people would hardly look at them. But their energy was such that they would actually affect the consciousness of everybody in that whole area, because their energy was just so powerful. And this is what we can do. We can send out that positive energy, and you know, try not to get frustrated, and just be in heart-centered. And you know, this is a good one. I was on the train, and you know, at one point there were like kids shouting, and I'm thinking, oh my goodness, that. And I think, no, deep breath, relax. And then, of course, the train stops. I say, right, it's going to be okay. I know it's going to be okay. And then an angel turns up and picks me up. Unbelievable. Honestly, when you get into alignment and you get into the right place, magical things happen. They really do. I know that, and I'm sure all of you know that. And this is another one I love. Seeking enlightenment, inquire within. Where's the door? There's no door. When you convert barn chickens to free range, all you have to do is open the door. But they don't go charging out there, do they?
Careful.
They're sort of thinking, oh, where are we going to get our seed from? And we'll die if we go away from those fluorescent lights. And okay, we might have shit stuck to our feet where we're treading, tramping around in it. But we know it's dangerous out there. So, your idea about going outside is crazy. But those of us that can see a future where we've got rid of the banks, the corrupt court systems, the corrupt, all the corruption, basically, get rid of the military-industrial complex and free ourselves from it. It is going to be wonderful, I promise you. We're about to go through some monumental changes. There will be challenges. The powers that be may be powerful with their media, money, and armed thugs. However, we are infinitely more powerful, and it's time to step into that power now. What the caterpillar calls the end of the world, the master calls the butterfly. A butterfly. And I'm going to leave you with that slide. Thank you very much, everyone. It's lovely to see you.